Welcome to a sixth line day. We are at the top of the hexagram of 59 and we find ourselves at one night stand. The one night stand, one of those greatly misunderstood lines you can imagine. From the knowledge that we've gathered about structure, we know what sixth lines do. They get into the nature of the hexagram. They get into it early in that third line phase and they get burned. And so they back off and they go up onto the hill. And from there, they watch the movie and they can see what everybody else is doing in the hexagram. The one night stand is something that's going to operate quite early in the life of the 59-6, the random sexual encounters, that kind of thing. But often when you meet a 59-6 later in life, you're not meeting someone who's particularly sexually active. They can even be celibate. They're simply not interested in sex at all, because all it leads to is problems, which they learned in their third line phase. There can be an uncomfortable aloofness in any sixth line activation. When we come to the 59-6, we come to that line of transition. All six lines are transitional lines. They're up there on the top of the hexagram. They're keeping an eye on the whole circuit. They are looking over the hedge, you could say, to the next gate. It's the end of this process, but this is a wheel. And so really there's never an end. This line of the one night stand, I already said how misunderstood it can be. The one night stand, being a sixth line, has a resonance to the third line. This is the bonds made and broken. So there is always the potential for this kind of sexuality within the sixth line experience. All six lines carry within them the sense of the soulmate, or not. But that's really what they're looking for in this line. It's that perfect night with their soulmate. And it might only be one perfect night, which is why it's called the one night stand. In looking at the whole circuit, the sixth line is looking at what it is to be a member of the tribe. The next gate is gate 40. It's part of the channel of community. The 59-6 is standing back saying, I know what this is about. This is about children, houses, mortgages, the job I have to have, the neighborhood I have to live in, the community I have to be part of. It's not worth it. No, thank you. In the lifetime learning, we have the tendency, based on personality or circumstances, to accept only temporary unions that may be otherwise impossible or dangerous to continue. This is an introduction line. It has to be learned. The sixth line wants to go to the end of the circuit, to the 45, to the ruler. It wants to say, I have. And if it can't say that, it's not going to be involved in the process at all. It keeps things casual through its temporary unions because it has learned over time that it's safer that way. In the exaltation, we have the perfected relationship, whether for a moment or an eternity, the power for intimacy regardless of conditions. And that's what the 59-6 is looking for always. They're great perfectionists. So here we have, give me perfection in the intimacy. In the way that we look at lines and their structure, we can see how this must play out. The perfection of the intimacy, it's perfect for a sixth line. The lower trigram, they don't know that there's a gate at the other end of the channel. The fourth line of externalization and the fifth line of universalization, they're upper trigram. They do know that there is something else at the end of the channel. But the sixth line doesn't really matter. It's not that interested. Sits up on the roof of the house. The perspective is greater from up there. It can see the whole of the circuit. So think about what that means for the 59-6. It's not deciding whether the 6 at the other side is going to be a good sexual partner or not. It's saying, okay, let's take it for granted that the 6 over there is going to be a good sexual partner and that we're going to be able to have an intimacy. What's going to be the result of that? Are we going to be able to make a living together? Are we going to be able to live in the right house? Are we going to have the right community? Will we be able to provide for our kids correctly? Will they grow up to be healthy? Are they going to go to the right college? Will they meet the right partner? Will I be able to afford all of this? Can I just retire and go to a gated community in the middle of nowhere and be safe until I die? This is the 59-6 looking at the bigger picture. They're sitting up there looking at the potential of intimacy, trying to figure out the whole program, not problem, program, right to the very end of the process. Right? It's not so easy for them to step into the intimacy of a moment, which is why one night stand is a little bit misnamed, because it's not the promiscuity of a one night stand, really. It's not easy for them just to step in when they've got all of this stuff playing out in their heads. They can see how the end of intimacy might go. So just, slipping in between the sheets is not necessarily going to be for them. They're looking at the byproduct of whatever they create through the whole of the tribal circuitry. Stepping into intimacy isn't easy because perfection isn't just a matter of satisfying the intimacy. It's a much bigger picture than that. Anytime you're looking at a 6 line, you recognize that what's holding it back from committing is its elevated point of view. It doesn't just see the gate at the other end. It looks at that big picture. It's looking at, in this case, the result of intimacy and deciding whether or not that intimacy is worth the cost. The power for intimacy is always there, but that doesn't mean that it will be used. In the detriment, we have the basic drive to move on that seeks impermanency as a matter of course and not in response to circumstances. The drive for sexual and intimate diversity. All 6 lines, whether you're looking at the exalted or the detriment, will always get to the same place. They're always going to get to that place where they withdraw from the process of the hexagram itself in order to examine it. And what they're examining are those other forces that are doing the same thing. They're looking at the rest of the hexagram and they're saying, is it a caveman? Is it being shy and being called out? Or is it just banging into things? Is it making friends with people or is it seducing them? What is it all about? Which one works? Which one has real value? And it's not about choosing one that is better than another. It's about finding somebody, any one of them really, that shows that intimacy is really something that can work. And then they can make a commitment. But, yeah, you're welcome. If you meet a 59-6 in a public place, you sit and watch them, you will see that they are watching everybody. They're watching everything that moves, every muscle, every tone, every shape. And it's not that they do anything about it. They're just looking at everything and thinking, maybe. They are not moved by sexuality. For them, there is a much deeper sense of, what else is out there? And what happens next? Well, the 59-6, they're up there. They're saying, okay, it's possible for that kind of intimacy with that kind of person to actually work. And out of that can come all sorts of things. So where do I go now? Oh, great. I have to go to the 40th gate and learn how to be alone. Having just found my perfect intimacy. I go from the 59th gate of strategic, genetic imperatives all of those ways that we have to be sexual. We have to bond and have unions with the other. We have to go to the 40th gate now, the gate of denial and aloneness. So when you move into the next line, into the 40, line 1, the next line, the next gate really, isn't it? The 40, line 1, you're moving much deeper into the tribe, where you go to the part of the tribe that has to work it all out, that has to provide. You know, the ego energy is given to support the family, to make the marriage bargain, to do all of those things. The thing that the 59-6 knows is that the next step is the 40, line 1, you know, where they can recuperate from all of that intimacy. They have to have their soulmate for them to want to commit to working through the 40th hexagram. They are not going to do that unless they really see that there's something unusual for them. There's something in it for them, the soulmate, or not. This energy is grounded by the 55th gate in the line 6, which is called selfishness. And I guess it could be considered selfish to wait for your soulmate, to not share your wisdom and bounty with just anyone, but to be very discerning about your choice, about who you welcome into your life, who you allow to pull you down off the hill. Perhaps it's enlightened selfishness. Venus is transiting today, moving into gate 46 at 4:05, so it's been in there a few hours now. This is the G center, gate of the temple, you know, or love of the body, or not, of course. It's a gate in the experiential sensing circuit where life is experienced through the physical body and the physical quality of life itself, including love of the body and an appreciation for the sensual nature of any experience. There's no experience without form. When our crystals are not incarnate, when they are not in a form, they're not experiencing anything. They may be filtering the neutrino ocean, but they're not experiencing life. We need a form in order to do that. Gate 46 is a gate of synchronicity, of being in the right place at the right time. It's also the determination of the self, with a determination to let go of expectation and surrender to experience. Venus can bring some awareness to those things that we value and love, to places where we can find love and experience beauty. So how does Venus feel to you today in gate 46? Do you experience love of your body? Do you worship in your own temple? Do you know where the door to your temple is? I think I might go out and buy myself some flowers today. Bring a little self-love into my experience. Not that self-love is determined by flowers, but it's just nice, isn't it? Sometimes just to say, yeah, okay, good. I'm worth it. I'm going to have some flowers today. I'm going to brighten up my life. The moon has just transited into gate 45, just at 10 past 10. This is the gate of the gatherer, of course. It's the archetypal leader, gathering resources, guiding others to manifest what is needed for survival, for prosperity, without sacrificing one's own interests, of course. This is a tribal throat gate with a manifestor energy. Has an air, an aura, an air of authority about it somehow. Do you have an experience of gate 45 that you would like to share? Next, we move into gate 12 at 2019. This is the individual throat gate of standstill and caution, with an ability to be very articulate in expressing unique perceptions when it's in the mood. And you know, we've got to have that or not in there. This expression might not even be through words. It might not be articulated in that way, It might be through an inflection or through a frequency, the frequency behind the words. Even though this is a throat gate, it's also a gate of silence. It benefits from stillness, from contemplation, to allow the message one holds to mature before sharing it. And gate 15 is the last moon gate of today's report, and that's at 6:34 tomorrow morning. This is the gate of extremes located in the G center. It's a logical gate. It's the love of humanity or not. This is the quality of behavior which expresses the proper balance between extremes. It's a gate with a highly magnetic aura and an innate sense of individual rhythm that enables the acceptance of others' rhythms and timings, even if they're extreme. This isn't gate 5, which can kind of lock into a routine and wants others to march to the same beat. This is a bit more, or would you say a bit more relaxed somehow, without a judgment, of course. And this is also just my experience. So please leave a comment if you have something that you would like to share about any of today's transits or anything that you are experiencing. We always learn through each other's sharings, each other's experience. As I've said to you before, there are so many activations I don't have, of course. I only have 2 centers, 1 channel. So there's so many gates and channels and centers that I don't experience except through conditioning and through other people's sharing of what it's like for them to have these gates, to have these channels and centers defined. And then I can take that in and I can use it as an anecdote to help enrich my teaching going forward. So all experience is valuable. We're all in this together. Yeah. So we have a new gate tomorrow, gate 40. I look forward to seeing you then to explore it. And we know that gate 40 is always in that polarity when it's in the sun position or an earth position, but it's always in polarity in that sense with gate 37. So we will all have the channel as community when this comes in tomorrow. So I look forward to seeing you then to explore that. Yeah, and until then, as always, love yourself deeply, passionately. Love yourself. No, not you. You're a wasp. Okay, I have a wasp allergy. I have to go. Bye.